Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Glenda Chavez, and on my channel you will find all kinds of DIY content. This week we are going back to the basics. I'm going to be showing you a furniture makeover that is super beginner friendly. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
If you're someone who's fairly new to painting furniture, it can seem pretty intimidating. A piece the size of this nightstand is perfect to start with and get some good practice in. I've personally had this piece in my garage for a little while and thought it was the perfect opportunity to show you how to make it over and keeping the process fairly simple and easy.
Alright, so I'm just going to be using some TSP to go ahead and clean this. And ideally you would want to be wearing some gloves because you will irritate your skin if you just do this by itself. You wash my hands really well after I'm done just to make sure I get all of that off of my hands.
The first step to any furniture painting is to clean it really well. You can use most household degreasers and cleaners like Crud Cutter, Simple Green, Dawn dish soap to name a few. After wiping it down thoroughly with your cleaner, you want to make sure you go over it with clean water to remove any leftover residue to help avoid any adhesion issues later on. Using 120 grit sandpaper wrapped over my extremely worn sanding block, I lightly scuff sand the surface to give the primer and paint something to grab onto. Although electrical sanders help make the job easier and faster, they aren't always necessary. They are definitely an investment and you shouldn't feel obligated to get one at the very beginning. Sanding by hand might be extra work, but it will get the job done. Once sanded and clean, it's time to prime. Some paints have excellent adhesion that priming isn't always 100% necessary, but it definitely won't hurt. So if you're ever in doubt, just go ahead and take the extra step. There are all kinds of brands and types of primers out there, so choose what works best for you. When worried about tan and bleeding, I always use the Sensor Bin shellac based primer. Otherwise, I'll use any other water based. Using 220 grit sandpaper, I make sure to lightly sand between coats to remove any texture my roller may have left behind.
So the color that I'm going to be using for this nightstand are actually two different colors. They're by Behr. They're just sample colors. And the color is thermal and also black evergreen. So I'm going to be mixing the two. Hopefully I end up liking the color. I haven't actually seen what it looks like mixed together, but I think it'll look just fine. These Behr samples, if you find them in the oops piles or in the piles of the returned paints, you can get them for 50 cents. So that's only $1 spent on both of these samples that otherwise you would have spent at least $5 each. And then what I'm going to be using today in order to mix the two and make it into a chalk paint is I'm going to be using my BB Frosh powder. This whole container is $10. It's super inexpensive. It'll last me several times. I've already used it twice and I still have quite a bit of product left in here. Making a mess. in this container, and I'm just using one of my Melange reusable glass containers that they come in, 2 heaping tablespoons of the powder mixed with 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of water, and you mix it together to form a paste. And that is what you use the formula for about an 8-ounce can of paint. I have 7.5 ounces, which I figure is pretty close to 8 ounces, so I figure it should be fine. I doubled the formula, so now I'm going to just mix my paint into it.
I like to spray my brush before and occasionally during the painting application to help the paint glide on smoothly. In order to achieve the minimum amount of brush strokes when painting with a brush, you have to make sure you use a high quality brush and do not overwork the paint. Using 320 grit sandpaper, I lightly sand between coats to again remove any possible texture and try to achieve the smoothest finish possible. Depending on the paint coverage, 2 coats may be sufficient, or you may need additional coats. For top coat, I am using Dixie Belle in a satin finish. Sheens and finishes of top coats is mostly preference, but a few things to keep in mind is that the higher the sheen, the more obvious imperfections will show through versus something like a matte. A matte finish will help hide the imperfections. I also find that the higher the sheens, it's easier to clean and can withstand scratches or scuffs a little better. I personally prefer to do a minimum of 2 coats and make sure to sand between each coat. Sanding between coats not only helps remove any texture, but is more importantly helps give each coat something to grab onto for better adhesion. I wanted to show you that for darker colors you can always slightly tint your top coat to help avoid any streaking. To keep things simple and uncomplicated with the hardware, I made sure to replace them with something that didn't need any new drilling. Now that we're done, let's take a moment to remember what this dresser used to look like and what it looks like now.
as always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful and what you thought of the end result. If you have any suggestions for future videos or topics you'd like me to discuss or cover, then please leave me a comment down below letting me know what those are. I'd love to hear them. So you guys stay safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all next week. Love y'all. Bye.